And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all the hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, as a falling fig from the fig tree.
Now he's talking about the elements falling from the sky now. I guess they would put them out if they fell from the sky, right? They would go out. It said the heavens going to be rolled together as a scroll. We're going to read later where it talk about the heavens shaking. Do this scroll rolling is referring to, right? But this is not literal, people. This is apocalyptic language. Go ahead and read, and we're going to prove it until you go ahead.
For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my course to judge.
He said his sword going to be bathed in heaven. Now he's talking about judging Edom, people. You know, that's the Edomites or Esau. These are the people who were constantly trying to fight against Israel. They were Israel's number one enemy. Go ahead and read.
The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord have a sacrifice in Bozrah.
He said he have a sacrifice in Bozrah. That was one of Edom's locations, Bozrah. He said he have a sacrifice in Bozrah, right? Symbolically, the people of Edom are going to be killed as a sacrifice to God. That's what he's saying. He's going to kill them. Go ahead and read.
And a great slaughter in the land of Idumea.
And a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Go ahead and read.
And the unicorns shall come down with them.
And when we say unicorns, people, it's not talking about a horse with a horn in his head. And it's not talking about a rhinoceros. It's talking about a wild ox or a bullock. Look it up. That's what it's talking about. Because you got atheists who will go online and talk about all these mystical creatures in the Bible, unicorns. No, look it up. It's talking about a one-horned ox or a wild ox. Go ahead and read.
And the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fat. What is the day of the Lord's vengeance? And the
day of the Lord, go ahead.
And the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion.
Now here's the question. Has this already happened to Edom? Yes. Bozrah has been destroyed. Edom was driven out of their land by an Arab people named the Nabateans. You can look this up. By the Nabateans, right? After they were driven out of their land, they were later converted over to the ways of Israel by John Hyrcanus. And after that, they were integrated into the nation of Israel, and they lost their identity as a nation. That's what happened to Edom. This already happened. Keep reading. Let's look at the stuff that it said was going to happen to Edom afterwards. Go ahead.
And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. It shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever.
This has already happened to Bozrah. You can go on the internet and look up Bozrah right now. It is a wasteland. To this day, right now, it is a wasteland. And God has already driven Edom out. He's already punished them at the hand of the Nabateans. He already took them out. This has already been fulfilled. But what did he say was going to happen when he put judgment on them? He said that heaven's going to roll together like a scroll, right? He said, their host shall fall down as the leaf falleth from the vine, and a fallen fig from a fig tree. People read stuff like this. They say, see, this is what's going to happen when the Lord come back. No, no, no. This is apocalyptic language describing the judgment of one nation upon another. In this case, he got a little more extreme with it. He's about them actually falling now. But it's already happened, people. Edom has already been judged. You got these black Hebrews, they will read this off. See, God gonna get Edom in the future. Edom is not a nation today. Ain't nobody walking around today calling themselves Idumea or Edom or Bozrah. They lost that. It's been fulfilled already. After Edom integrated with Israel, they became known as Hebrews with Israel. And then in 70 AD, which we also won't read about, they went into slavery with Israel. But Edom lost their identity as a nation all the way back during the Maccabean period. You know, during the time when Judas Maccabees lived. And, a little while after. to John Hyrcanus. He made them convert over to the ways of Hebrews. They had to keep the Torah. They had to be circumcised. They had to keep the Sabbath day. And after that, the name of Edom disappeared from history as a nation. They were no longer recognized as a nation. They lost their identity as a nation, and they had been living among Israel to the time that Israel went into slavery. This is documented history. This is not my opinion. It's documented. But look what God said was going to happen to them. The only way for this to be future would be for God to bring Edom out of captivity, set them back up again as a nation, and then do this to them. But you can't read in the Bible anywhere about God bringing Edom out of captivity and setting them up again. You can't read that nowhere. This has already happened. Edom has already been punished. Bosra is already a wasteland. You can look it up on the internet right now. Just type in any search engine, Bosra wasteland, or Isaiah 34 fulfilled, or what happened to Edom's land. Just type in any question, it'll tell you Bosra is a wasteland. Already been destroyed, people, just like the Bible says. So if that's already happened, that means everything else he said to Edom already happened, right? Because they ain't in their land no more. But let's keep it moving. Let's go to Joel. It's another they love going to. They messed this one up so bad, it's not even funny. Joel. And I look at them all the time and say, man, y'all need to stop. And y'all know I'm not lying. Y'all know these people do this. Y'all know they use these same scripts to try to talk about end times. And it's not. Because they don't understand the apocalyptic language of the Bible. They misinterpret. They keep on doing it. Joel chapter 1 and verse 1. And let's see who God is talking to. Always important to establish who's being addressed. Right? Joel 1 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
The word of the Lord that came to Joel, the son of Pethuel. Hear this, ye old men, and give ear, all ye inhabitants of the land.
So he talked to some inhabitants of some land. He was trying to figure it out, right? Go ahead.
Has this been in your days, or even in the days of your fathers? Tell ye your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. That which the palmer worm have left half the locust eaten.
He said that which the palmer worm has left, have the locust eaten. So he's talking about a plague of insects coming upon the land. Go ahead and read.
And that which the locusts have left, have the cankerworm eaten. And that which the cankerworm have left, the caterpillar eaten. So
what he's saying is, these insects are going to be upon the land. And since it's Joel talking, it got to be the land of Israel or Judah, right? Because that's who this is addressing, right? We're going over to chapter 2. Pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read.
Blow ye the trumpet in Zion.
Blow ye the trumpet in Zion. Where is Zion located at? In Jerusalem. So now we know this talking about Jerusalem. We got it. Go ahead and read.
And sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble.
Oh, let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. If I'm blowing a trumpet in Jerusalem, then who should be trembling when I blow it? The people that stay in Jerusalem, which is Judah. So this is talking about Judah. Right? Go ahead and read.
For the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand.
He said the day of the Lord comes is near at hand. Who are we talking to here though? Judah. Which is Jerusalem. That's what we talking to. So who is the day of the Lord near at hand toward? Judah. Real simple, ain't it? Not hard. But can you believe that people, black Hebrews particularly, will go here and try to make this be in the future too? The congregation we came from does it. Be baby though, because he came from the same congregation. They use this too. They try to say this is talking about the Russian army. What? How you get that out of there? You don't even mention no Magog, no Gog, no Gentile nation whatsoever. It doesn't even say nothing about no Japheth right here. Now it does mention northern armies coming to punish Israel, but they talk what you're reading about right here. The army itself is talking about the Russian army. No, it's not. You're going to see what it's talking about. Keep reading it.
And the day of darkness and gloominess.
You said a day of darkness and gloominess, right? Go ahead and read.
A day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountain, a great people and a strong. There have not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it.
You said neither shall there be any more after it. So he's talking about sending a great people. Go ahead and read.
Even to the years of many generations. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth.
He said a fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. Go ahead and read.
The land is as the Garden of Eden before them.
The land looks like the Garden of Eden in front of them, but once they ride over it, what it gonna look like?
And behind them a desolate wilderness.
And behind them a desolate wilderness. Go ahead and read. Sound like we talking about quite an army here, doesn't it? Go ahead and read.
Yea, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run.
It said they look like horses, that horsemen, so shall they run. Go ahead and read.
Like the noise of chariots on the top of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire, it devours the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array.
It says a strong people. This sounds like an army, doesn't it? As a strong people set in battle array. Go ahead and read.
Before their face the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. They shall march everyone on his ways. They shall not break their ranks.
He said they shall not break their ranks. They're going to keep it moving. Go ahead and read.
Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk everyone in his path. And when they shall fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded.
And see, when people read it, they say this must be talking about some type of immortal army. Because when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. It's not. Just keep reading.
They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief.
He said they're going to be doing some of all this stuff. They're going to enter in at the window like a thief. They're going to be running upon houses, all that stuff. Keep reading.
The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble.
He said the heavens shall tremble. The sky going to shake. How can the sky shake? This is apocalyptic language. Like it said about the heavens rolling together like a scroll.
Right.
But what is this? What time is this talking about? Keep reading.
The sun and the moon shall be dark.
Man, how many times have we read this, man?
4 or 5 times.
We keep reading about the sun and the moon being dark. We know it's always talking about when God is bringing judgment upon one nation with another. Right? Go ahead and read.
And the stars shall withdraw their shining.
And we know if it's already talking about Judah, we already know that Judah went into captivity with the Babylonians. We know that. But is this army talking about the Babylonian army? Let's keep reading and see. Go ahead.
And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army.
Before his what?
For his army.
So it's God's army. Go ahead and read, right? Okay.
For his camp is very great. For he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of the Lord is great.
What do they call it?
Day of the Lord.
The day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is great. Go ahead.
And very terrible. And who can abide it?
It said, and who can abide in it? Right? We know this is talking about Judah because it's talking about Jerusalem and Zion. So we know it's talking about Judah because that's where they stayed at, right? And we know Babylon took them out, right? What about this great army we read about? Is it the Babylonian army? Could it be? Let's see who it's talking about. It said it's God's army, right? Skip down to verse 21 and read. Because now he's talking about what he's going to do to Israel if they repent. Go ahead.
Fear not, O land. Be glad and rejoice, for the Lord will do great things.
What land are we talking about? Judah. Jerusalem. But he just said when this happened, the stars, the moon, and the sun going to be darkened. Every time he talk about punishing Israel, he said that's going to happen, doesn't it? But he said it for other nations too. He said it for Babylon, he said it for Egypt. Right? Go ahead and read.
Be not afraid, ye beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring, for the tree bear her fruit. The fig tree and the vine do yield their strength. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God. For God hath given you the former rain moderately. He will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain, and the latter rain in the first month. And the floor shall be full of wheat, and the fat shall overflow with wine and oil.
So he's telling you you're going to get everything back that you lost if you repent. Go ahead and read.
And I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten.
Remember we read about that in chapter 1, what the locusts have eaten and what else?
The cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, my great army which I sent among you.
Oh, he said, my great army which I sent upon you. So what army were we reading about that God said he was going to send upon them and punish them with?
Locusts.
Come on, bugs.
Bugs.
Insects, people. But he said when he sent this upon them, the sun going to get dark, moon going to get dark, the sun going to get dark. And he did send this among Israel. Did it get dark when it happened? Well, I guess you could say literally at this time it did, because if you look at a swarm of locusts in the sky, it can blacken the sky. But it's not really darkening the sun and the moon. It's just darkening the light that they have shining towards you. It says right here that the sun and the moon and the stars will withdraw their shining. When this happens. Did this literally happen when the locusts came? No, it didn't. But he said the sun and the moon and the stars were going to get dark when it happened. How many times do you have to read before you can see it just talking about stuff associated with God bringing judgment upon one nation using another? Because now that we know we talking about Judah here, we know Babylon took them out, so that sun, the moon, and the stars is still associated with Babylon taking them out. But I just want y'all to see that he made mention of that again in Joel. How do people keep messing this up? That's all it means, people. It's apocalyptic language misinterpreted by the Christians and the so-called Hebrews. But we still in Joel. Let me show you something else. Because Joel is going to mention a future one. You follow what I'm saying? A future one that's going to happen, right? Keep reading. Verse 26. Just keep reading.
And ye shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God that have dealt wondrously with you. And my people shall never be ashamed.
This is the future. Go ahead and read.
And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh.
Now he said it's going to come to pass afterward. Now we already got the sun and the moon and the stars have already been darkened before what we're about to read, because he already punished Israel. Now he's talking about after he forgives them and after they repent. Now we're talking about afterwards, right? So after this, what's going to happen?
And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy.
So I'm going to pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Go ahead.
Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions.
So this is something going to happen in the future from the time Joel wrote this. Go ahead and read.
And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes.
Now this is what's so significant about Joel, because he gives you this happening at two different time periods. Yet, even though he clearly lays this out in two different time periods, can you believe that people still can't see that they are separate? Can you believe that? People still can't see that they are separate. Because one of them happens before God punishes Israel, or when he does it. And the other one happens after he calls them to repentance, right? So the one in Joel that we're reading right here, the second one, is something that happened much later after the first one. Because both of them happened after Joel wrote this, because it's a prophecy. But one happened a lot later than the other one. Let's see the fulfillment of the second one. We're going to turn to Acts chapter 2. And both of them are talking about the judgment of Israel. So that means we read about the judgment that came on Israel shortly after Joel's time, or during his time, and another judgment that came on Israel again long after Joel was dead. Because that's what that sun, that moon, and that stars represent. Whenever you see that, that means judgment is coming upon the nation. That's all that means. A bad judgment. Terrible times, right? Acts chapter 2. We're going to pick up at verse 14. This is the day of Pentecost. Y'all familiar with this story. Watch what Peter says here that's significant. He's been telling them that what was happening to them was the fulfillment of a prophecy we just read in Joel. Go ahead and read.
But Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, Ye men of Judea, and all ye that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you.
It's funny, you men of Judea and all that dwell at Jerusalem. Here we go again. Go ahead.
Be this known unto you, and hearken to my words. For these are not drunken, as ye suppose, seeing it is but the third hour of the day. But this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel.
He said, this is what was spoken by the prophet Joel. What you're witnessing here is the fulfillment of Joel's prophecy. Joel gave a couple of prophecies, so we got to pinpoint exactly which one Peter's talking about.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams.
So they were prophesying on the day of Pentecost. So that's the fulfillment of that, right? But watch what else Peter said it's going to happen. Go ahead.
And on my servants and on my handmaids I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy. And I will show wonders in heaven above, and signs in the earth beneath.
He's quoting all of this, so that means that everything he's quoting was either fulfilled that day or shortly fulfilled after that. Because he said this is the fulfillment of that. Go ahead and read.
Blood and fire and a vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before that great and notable day of the Lord comes.
Wait a minute. Pay attention to what you just read. He's quoting Joel. He's saying right here about that sun and that moon and that stars being darkened had to happen sometime in his lifetime or shortly thereafter. Because he said what's going on Pentecost is the fulfillment of that. Notice he didn't quote the one that you read at the beginning of chapter 2 of Joel, because that would have been a lie. That wouldn't have been a fulfillment of that, because that already happened to ancient Israel. He read the second time in Joel about the sun and the moon getting dark, because that was a future judgment that was going to come upon Israel again at the hands of a nation. In other words, Joel spoke of the sun and the moon and the stars getting dark twice to symbolize two different nations coming upon Jerusalem. The first one was Babylon. What was the second? Well, Peter said, when we get to the New Testament time, Peter said this is the fulfillment of Joel's second prophecy in his day. Only thing you got to do is just ask yourself, well, what nation shortly came after that and punished Israel or Judah? The Roman Empire. That's all it means, people. About 40 years after this, 70 AD, Titus sacked Jerusalem and destroyed it. Joel gave you both times, and he gave you the apocalyptic language for both times. The first time when he was talking about it, he was talking about ancient Judah. Babylon took that out. We read that. We know that. Then we get to Peter's time, and Peter said that the second time Joel read about it was a fulfillment in his day, or their lifetime. So the only thing you got to ask yourself is, well, if every time we read about this in the Bible, it means God using one nation to punish another, then what nation did he use to punish Jerusalem in Peter's time? Everybody knows that, the Romans. So it's amazing that Joel gave both times, right? So now that we know that, let's go to Matthew 24, and we only got two more after that. And now we're going to know what Jesus was talking about when he did this, when he said this. Because Peter and Jesus lived during the same time, right? They lived during the same time. And we ain't going to get all off into Matthew 24. I got a 19-part video on YouTube showing you that all of Matthew 24 has been fulfilled. I just want to take you here to show you one thing. Since you've been reading all the way up to this point, what this means, when you get here, it shouldn't be any doubt what it means, right? Matthew 24, give me verse 29. That's all we're going to read, 29 and 30. Like I said, if you want me to hear the rest of my breakdown of this, look at the video, Matthew 24, completely fulfilled on YouTube. Go ahead and read.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Now let me ask you a question, big baby. Every time we read this in the Bible, right, didn't it mean God using one nation to punish another? Every time, no exception. Not one. So if we're reading it right here, and we're in the New Testament when we read it, right, then only thing we have to do is ask ourselves, at what time during the New Testament period or shortly after did God use a nation to punish Israel? 70 AD. So what is this talking about in Matthew 24? 70 AD. It's real simple if you understand apocalyptic language. But see, people take this because they don't understand apocalyptic language and they throw this into the future and they make it universal. But to be perfectly honest, all the other we read look like it could have been universal too. True. They're no different. They say that they read the same way. But now that you have read up to this and you get here, now you're saying, you know what? I see what it sounds like, but this is talking about 70 AD. This is talking about Jerusalem. How do we know that? Because of what Peter just said in Acts chapter 2. Peter said what happened in Joel, what was spoken of in Joel was fulfilled during his lifetime. Well, we saw everything fulfilled during his lifetime except the sun and the moon and the stars turning to blood. That didn't literally happen in Peter's lifetime. And Peter said that was the fulfillment of Joel. He even quoted it. Now, if it wasn't going to be fulfilled in his lifetime, he wouldn't have quoted it. Just like when Jesus was reading in Luke chapter 4, he would quote Isaiah 61. He stopped reading at a certain point because he knew he wasn't going to fulfill that part yet. So Peter wouldn't have quoted all of Joel, including the part about the elements being darkened, unless that happened in his lifetime or shortly thereafter. And it did happen in his lifetime or in his lifespan in 70 AD. And what Jesus is talking about right here is exactly the time period that Peter was referring to in Acts. Peter understood that Joel prophesied Jerusalem's destruction as well as Jerusalem's first destruction. He prophesied both of them, and Jesus is referring to it right here. Being a Hebrew Israelite, Jesus Christ, and being familiar with Hebrew apocalyptic language, Jesus knew exactly what he meant when he said that. What he was saying is, I, Jesus Christ, am going to bring judgment upon Jerusalem by the hand of the army. You can read further about that in Luke 21. It's even clearer in Luke 21. So why is people using Matthew 24 to refer to our time when the Bible says it's referring to the destruction coming upon Jerusalem? Why are they using Joel to refer to our time? Oops, they are doing that. But when you read it in context, you see who it's talking about. Like you read Matthew 24 in context, you see what it's talking about. Read verse 30. Go ahead.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
And we know that the word earth can also be translated land. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. The sign of the Son of Man. Not the Son of Man in heaven. The sign of the Son of Man. In other words, a sign that he is in heaven. A sign that he has ascended to heaven. This is how you know that what he was telling was the truth. When he ascended to heaven and what he said came to pass. Oh, now we know he's telling the truth. Go ahead and read.
And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
And in the Matthew 24 class, we broke down what it means about him coming in the clouds of heaven and they're going to see him. It just simply means they were going to see the judgment he was going to bring. I'm not going to get off into the end of that because I already did a 19-part video about this on YouTube. So if you want to get more detail on that, see that video. But I just took you here to show you that everywhere else we read about that, it means the judgment of God using one nation to punish another. We know that in the Gospel, Jesus condemned Jerusalem. We know that. He constantly condemned them. And he told them that they were going to be destroyed. He said that was going to happen to them, and that happened in 70 AD. Now, let's go to Revelation 6. Because now that we know that that's what that means, now that we deal with God punishing all the nations, it still don't mean the elements get dark. It just means that judgment is coming upon all the nations, don't it? That's all that means. And I'm going to go to one more after this to prove to you that that's the case. Revelation 6, verse 12. One more after this. Go ahead and read.
And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal.
What seal?
The sixth seal.
What seal?
Sixth seal.
I'm keeping this in mind because it's very important for what we're going to read later. When he opened the sixth seal, what come after 6?
7.
Okay, so we know if we read any seal that comes after 6, then it's something after what we read here. We know that, right? That's common sense, right? Okay, go ahead and read.
And lo, there was a great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood.
In other words, the elements stopped shining. Every time we've been reading this, has this been literal?
No.
Revelation is the test book, people. When I say test, I mean T-E-S-T, like a quiz. It's the test book. Meaning, if you don't understand Old Testament apocalyptic language, then when you get to Revelation, you're going to think this stuff is literal. This ain't literal what you're reading right here. It means the same thing it meant throughout the whole Old Testament, that God is bringing judgment upon somebody. In this case, the whole world. Go ahead and read.
And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as the fig tree cast her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as the scroll when it is rolled together. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places.
And every mountain and island was moved out of their places. My God, John, it sounds like the whole earth going to be rearranged. In another class, I can deal with the earth being moved and the mountains moved. We already read about the mountains shaking. I can show you that too. More apocalyptic language, not literal. If every mountain is going to be moved out of its place, wouldn't that include Mount Zion? But it tells you in future prophecy that his feet going to stand also upon the Mount of Olives. How can that be if the Mount of Olives is going to be moved to somewhere else?
Right.
The Bible talks about it being in the same place in the future. So if this right here is literal, then what that mean? Is that every mountain? When that move, it mean that maybe the Mount of Olives is going to be in Georgia somewhere.
Right.
More apocalyptic language, people. Keep reading.
And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb.
Now, in no time in history did anybody do this. He said, hide us from him. So this time they going to know that this is talking about Jesus Christ coming back. But all this language you read about the elements getting dark, people, that's not literal. It just means judgment finna come. Trouble time finna come on the whole earth. That's what that means, and I'm going to prove it. Go ahead and read.
For the great day of his wrath is come.
Whose day of wrath? The Lord. So they're going to know the day of the Lord. In the future this time, go ahead.
Who shall be able to stand?
Now, we just read, what seal was open when all this happened? Sixth seal. So according to this, when the sixth seal opened, sun, moon, stars, dark, stars fall from heaven, heaven rolled together like a scroll, right? Then what happened at the sixth seal? If this is literal, somebody, anybody, explain this. Revelation chapter 8. Last one. Verse 1. This happened at the sixth seal, right? 8 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And when he had opened the seventh seal.
Hold up, the what seal?
The seventh seal.
That come after what?
6.
So whatever we read, about to read here is after what we just read about the sun, the moon, stars, and the dark, right? Okay, go ahead and read.
There was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets.
So now we know that the 7 trumpets, which comes with the 7 angels blowing them, happens when the 7th seal is blown. It's open. Which happens after the 6th seal is open. So this is after what you just read in Revelation 6, no doubt. Right? Okay. That's cool. Skip down to verse 12. Just read that one verse right there. Because if the elements literally got dark in Revelation 6 and all the stars fell from heaven, somebody explain this. Go ahead and read.
And the 4th angel sounded.
The 4th angel sounded. Go ahead.
And the 3rd part of the sun was smitten.
Hold up. A 3rd part of the sun was smitten. Okay. Whatever. Go ahead.
And the 3rd part of the moon. And the 3rd part of the stars.
But what were they smitten with? Keep reading.
So as the 3rd part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a 3rd part of it, and the night likewise.
Oh, wait. How can the 3rd part of the stars be smitten in Revelation 8 at the 7th seal when we just read in Revelation 6 that all of them fell from the sky?
This is not literal.
Because the one in Revelation 6 wasn't literal. It just meant judgment was coming. How can the 3rd part of the the 3rd part of the moon and the moon and the sun be darkened when according to Revelation 6 they already completely became dark?
Yeah, you cut it back on and darken them.
And you can't read that. Which would make sense to do that. Why would he darken them at the 6th seal and then get to the 7th seal, light them back up and turn them out again? Let's let them stay dark at the 6th seal, then get to the 7th seal, keep it moving. Because Revelation 6 is not literal. It means the same thing that you've been reading up to this point. Judgment coming. Here comes the judgment. Then you get to Revelation 8, you read about literal darkening of the elements. This is just like he literally darkened it in Egypt. This one right here is the literal darkening of it. That's why it says, the night likewise. This is literal in Revelation 8. That's why it says, the 3rd part of the stars were dark. I thought they had already fell from the sky. How can you darken the 3rd part of something that's already been dark? It didn't say a third part of them were made darker. How dark do you need to be? Just turn them out. You all understand? This one right here in Revelation 8 and the 7th seal, this is when God gonna literally start messing with the elements. So as y'all will see in this class, the apocalyptic language of the Bible, misinterpreted, we have showed you that the Christians, the Hebrews, and even the Muslims have been misinterpreting the language of the end time. They read this stuff and they don't know what they're talking about because they have no understanding. I have shown you that when they're talking about the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the heavens shaking, and the earth being moved out of place, and all that stuff, it is apocalyptic language, meaning God is going to use one nation to bring judgment upon another nation. If you are attending a congregation or go somewhere where they are telling you that this stuff is literal, and you have seen that it is apocalyptic symbolic language, then you are sitting under a false teacher, and a false teacher leads to damnation. See you next time.